Everyone, this is Jane with Barlow Herbal, and happy Sunday, February 25th of 2024. Now, this has been an interesting, super busy week for me and a bit of an emotional roller coaster. And a lot of people that I've talked to, I've been hanging out with some family members this week and some very dear friends. And it feels like it's the same for them as well. There are just so many pulsating, crazy energies in the positive, in the negative, swirling around the planet. And one of the first things I wrote in my journal this week was, my soul feels a little battered right now. And then I asked myself this question, I wrote this down. How do I rise above the emotions and negative vibrations that hurt my soul? And as I wrote this, I felt, there's a lot of people who probably really need to ask themselves that question as well. How do I rise above it? And there are, of course, techniques. There are things that we talk about all the time. And what I realized is that first two things. Sometimes we need to sit with those emotions. We need to let them be what they are. We need to not try to flow them off onto other people and start arguments or start confrontations. Sometimes we might need to go someplace quiet and just let them be. And then the second piece of this, and this is where I was able, and I'm always able to pull myself out of this, is I literally sat down in this journal, in my journal, and I wrote down 2 full pages of what I'm grateful for. And I before I wrote that, I wrote this: I can choose to be in an angry, frustrated, fearful, unsupported state. These are just feelings, nothing more. You are not these feelings. I'm an infant being of love and unconditional. I'm an infinite being of light and unconditional love. And then I wrote, I am so grateful for, and then I wrote 2 pages. And I just wrote, what do I have to be grateful for? And the thing is, when we find ourselves in these moments of bits of dark nights of the soul, it's a good thing to remember what we're grateful for and why we're here. And I know that can be difficult. So this week has been super busy. I started off the weekend. I actually spent the first of the week. I flew to Phoenix, and I decided I needed a break, just a quick break. I have a brother and his family that live in Phoenix, and he's a beautiful soul. He's 15 years younger than me. We've always been very close. And I reached out to him and I just said, hey, would you be free and I can come down there? And there's this hike he has. And those of you who are in Phoenix or in the Phoenix area, there's a beautiful mountain called South Mountain. And if you hike from one end of the mountain and you do a walkthrough, and it's it's not super high elevation, but it's rocky, there's some scrambling rocks and ups and downs, and it's a 16.5-mile hike. And what I felt like I needed 2 things. I needed to get out of the cold that is in Utah. Now, we've had a pretty mild winter here, but the days are cold. You always go out with a jacket, and I was just like, I need some warmth, and I need something physical that's just going to wear my physical body out, and I needed some one-on-one time with my beautiful brother. So I flew to Phoenix. We hiked the South Mountain Trail in one day. It took us 8 hours and 15 minutes. And one of the things that I put out as an intention on that day, and even just for the couple of days that I was there, was I want to be disconnected. I want to be disconnected from the idea that the government is tracking us all and that we don't have any privacy, and that, I wanted a full disconnection. And asking for that, I will tell you, you need to be prepared for the universe to deliver. Because what happened is I should have left my phone at my brother's house before we did this hike. Because I literally lost my phone somewhere along this 16.5-mile hike. And it was like kind of freeing. Because then, of course, I didn't have a phone to get home. I mean, I was able to get home, of course. But there is something beautifully freeing about not having that piece of technology that we've all come to just be like an extension of us, right? And I realized that this really was something I was asking for, and it turned into kind of an expensive thing. I had to replace my phone when I got back to Salt Lake, but the universe literally delivered that gift to me, and I spent those couple of days with my brother and his family without my phone, and it was actually really, really freeing. And then when I got home and I went through my emails, and this is kind of where, you know, it was like, okay, the world is so fascinating. And I had, again, a little bit of a dip on this little roller coaster I went through. It's like I opened my emails and there was a notification from YouTube that a video that I had done with Dr. Nielsen in July of 2021. So literally 2.5, almost 3 years ago, they had taken it off of YouTube because it didn't meet their standards. And I'm like thinking, okay, this is interesting. We actually talked about detoxification from this, right? And this was in July of 2021. And the interesting thing is that when I posted this video, I sent it out to my email list and I posted it in an unlisted state. So it was never public on YouTube, because I even thought, you know, back then, way before I mean, I've been in a position with what I do that I have gotten censored, you know, quite a bit. And if it's not having something pulled down, it's just basically they don't let your things be seen because of different algorithms and stuff. So I was like, wow, 2.5 years. They pulled down a video. So this is what I'm going to do. There's going to be a link in the email that accompanies this video. So if you're not on my email list, jump over to the website and there'll be a link below this video. Just go sign up for our newsletter. This is how I send out whatever's going on, and I send notifications, plus I send a link to the videos. So I'm going to I went back and I found the original video that we filmed, and I'm going to post that on Rumble and just give you an idea of how benign some of these things are that are literally being censored. It's really kind of interesting. So there'll be a link in the email. If you don't have this email with the link to it, then jump over to Rumble and go to the channel. It'll be on there. But to me, that it kind of like, when I got that notification, I was just like, I got this little bit of a heavy on my heart, like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that something that felt so benign and helpful was being removed because of all the reasons of the stuff that we know that's going on, right? So I wrote down a few notes that I'm just going to go over with you, and it felt a little bit like a kind of a chaotic week as far as my thoughts being some coalesced with some message that is one big thing. But I think there'll be some beautiful insights in here that I hope will help move you through your week. So one of the things that I wrote here is that the safe road is always going to be there. If we take the safe, most convenient path, it's always going to be there. Even if it's not popular, I think it's important to expand ourselves and be true to who we are. In fact, there's a really famous story that Jim Carrey tells about his dad, who had the talent to become a comedian, and this is where his joy was, but he took the safe route and became an accountant. And then I think when Jim was like 12 years old, his dad lost his job. So he lost his safe job. And so basically his message became, he realized that you can fail at doing something that you don't love. So you might as well do and find yourself on a path of doing what you love. And I remember, every time I hear this story, and there's different little motivational speeches that kind of come across my YouTube that have this realization that we're here to do what we love. The safe road is always going to be available, but why not expand and experience why we're here, right? I think the problem is we're afraid that people won't accept us, and we're always afraid of what people think. This goes back to the 4 agreements. Don't take anything personally. We need to be true to who we are and realize that the gifts we have we're the only ones that have them. And no matter, what we think other people think of us, you start to realize pretty quickly that most people aren't even thinking about you. You're the one who's thinking the most about yourself. So as I was going through this week, I realized that we're all looking for positive and happiness and bliss and higher states of consciousness. But we need to realize that these states come and go just like the negative states come and go. We're not always going to be in a state of bliss. This is where we would like to always be. In fact, many of you know that my book that I published last year, there's an additional chapter that I added when it was picked up by Skyhorse, and it's going to be re-released with an extra chapter in May of this year. It's actually a chapter of psychedelic and sacred plants. And I thought that this was a very important chapter to add because I feel like as human beings, we have been searching for millennia for enlightenment. And I do believe that with proper knowledge, expertise, and true care and facilitation, that for many people who can't seem to break out of trauma, PTSD, OCD behaviors, simply just feelings of hopelessness and helplessness, that there is a place for these sacred plants to come in. And if they're, like I said, I've never believed that they should be done for recreation. I don't judge people who decide to do that. I believe that there is a path to enlightenment. But one of the things I read last week in Dr. David Hawkins' book, Healing and Recovery, is that there was actually a chapter on alcohol and alcoholism. But one of the things that he talked about is that when people drink alcohol, and this is not even talking about to the point of alcoholism, but people who drink a drink of alcohol, every night, we have a glass or 2 of wine, or we have that shot of whiskey, or whatever it is that people drink, or whatever their go-to is. What happens is there's a release of the negative emotions. In fact, I know people who, when they start to have alcohol, they become super loving, and the world, it just becomes loving. And of course, there are people who go into the opposite piece of that. But what happens with alcohol is that you temporarily are able to raise into a little bit higher states that definitely feel better because you're releasing guilt, shame, fear, the negativity of those lower emotional vibrational states. And then it really turns into, of course, it turns out not to be a good thing. So this is, again, a book I would really suggest you pick up. So we're all looking for bliss. We learn that bliss comes in waves. It is the universe, it is the unwise person who believes that bliss will always be there if you look for it. We have to realize that sometimes there's hard emotions that we have to sit through. This seems to be a common theme that's been coming up for me. I don't think it's smart not to take action, but I do think that when you sit with it and you release that pressure valve, that your whole world and everything can change. So I do believe that a big part of all of this is our intention. What is it that we intend? Our intention is everything, and nothing happens on this planet without it. This is a piece of, like, what are we intending for anything? For anything. Okay, so and here's another thing. And these are little random chunks of thoughts as I went through my week. I realized that all spirituality is about relieving suffering. When I start to feel a little bit bad for myself, we all get caught in that. And when I actually come out of that, I kind of have this little bit of a feeling of like, oh, how small and petty of me to feel bad for myself. But I have those moments. And then I realize that all spirituality is about relieving suffering. So when we find ourselves on a spiritual path, we want to relieve our own suffering. We want to feel enlightened. We want to feel joy. We want to feel peace. We want to sometimes feel the nothingness of being like in the Tao. We just want to be, because those lower states are not pleasant. And when we go on a spiritual journey, especially when it's for ourselves, and this is how it should always be, especially in the beginning, our suffering is what we're trying to relieve. And then what happens is we realize that as your spirituality path continues, that your biggest bliss and joy will come from when you relieve the suffering of others. You know, when I'm able to talk to someone on the phone, or I'm able to give someone a little bit of inspiration that relieves their suffering, and it doesn't matter if it's something of my herbal offerings, if it's something in the path of this world and enlightenment that we're all on, all of those things matter. And my goal is to stay on a spiritual path and release as much suffering of my own as I can, because it doesn't serve anybody, and then to help relieve the suffering of others. And this is where we get to go into service, right? We go into service of others. So this is, this is something I went outside every single day this week. I did a ton of walking, especially after I did this big long hike with my brother. I was a little stiff. In fact, we walked the last 5 miles almost in silence, because at that point it was, our muscles were feeling it. We had plenty of hydration. We had plenty of snacks, as far as we both realized we hike very similar as far as on these big long hikes. You know, we don't pack a great big meal. We have, protein bars. We have some electrolytes. We have, we had some beef jerky, and it was very, very small amounts of food. But the thing is just to go. And the last 5 miles, we basically, checked in with each other just to see how we were doing, but we kind of hiked in silence, and mostly because we were in a little bit of physical pain. And this is one of the beautiful things about actually doing something that's hard. In fact, there's a place on the trail where it's about 8 miles in, where you have an opportunity where the road comes right up to this one place on the trail. And my brother said, okay, how are you feeling? Because this is a place where we can actually call an Uber, and they can come and pick us up, and because we've already done 8 miles. And I was at that point, I was feeling great. And it was mid-70s by the time, the day got to its highest, and we started off when it was really cool, but it hadn't really, the heat of the day hadn't really started to kind of hit us, which it wasn't that hot. It was actually perfect temperature. But when you're hiking, and the hike, so we still had 8.5 miles to go, but it was just the most, beautiful thing, and it made us stiff. So the whole rest of the time after I flew back to Salt Lake, every single day this week, I got out, I went walking, and to loosen myself up, right? So what I figured is this: let the universe know what you want, work toward it, and then letting go of how it comes to pass. Put out what you want. Go into prayer, meditation, asking, and then let go of how it comes to pass. Work toward the things that you ask for. And, you don't want to just sit back. But once you put your intention out to the universe, whatever that is, then let the universe do its job. Get out of the way. It'll happen the way it's supposed to happen. And this is where most of us have a little bit of a, we want it to happen when we want it to happen. We don't have patience. It's like when we're healing. We don't have patience. We want things to happen quick, right? Make a conscious choice to see the challenges as something beneficial and deal with them in the most productive way. So make a conscious choice, to deal with these challenges in a very productive way. And here's the thing: come up with your own style. The way you handle things, make them fun. Find a way to make them fun. On this hike I did with my brother, we definitely had some serious appreciation and some chuckles when it was all done. We stretched out on his floor. we stretched, we both took a shower, we went out to eat with his wife and his daughter, and it was lovely, but we had fun along the way. And I think that when there's, this was a conscious challenge that I wanted to go do this. And this is not something everybody wants to do. Not everybody wants to, decide, I'm going to go hike for 16 and a half miles. And it just might not be the thing that you want to do, but it does teach you something. It teaches you to do hard things and get to the end of it. Because there reaches a point where, okay, we don't really have a choice. There's not going to be a helicopter that's going to drop in and pick us up. And we did have that choice at the 8-mile mark, but I don't want to start something hard and then just because I have an easy out over here, not see it through. There's a character building that comes with these hard things. So find your style and have fun along the way. I think that we are all ready and able to do beautiful things. I remind myself of this when I start to feel sorry for myself. I'll think, what's the point? When is this situation gonna clear up? This is ridiculous. Whatever is happening. And then I remind myself the gratitude piece. Like, this actually cures me super quick of any pity party, feeling sorry for myself. The serious gratitude that I have. And I know that all hard things come to an end. And I think this is one of the reasons I wanted to go do this with my brother, because I needed something that was physically challenging, and there was a definite end to it, and it was an end that I could see. So it made me realize there's patience when the hard things drag on, and they drag on, and it feels like nobody else can see or feel what I'm going through. I feel like I'm all alone in this hard thing I'm going through, because everybody else is going on with their life, and I'm still going through this hard thing. And then you swing yourself back to gratitude, and you say, okay, what do I have? What gifts have I been given? What is my health like? All these things, So it boils down to two things. We get to choose. We get to choose love, or we get to choose fear. Don't let fear turn you against who you are as a loving, conscious, beautiful light being. Don't let fear turn you away from that. We need to realize that the effect we have on others is the most valuable thing we have. When we can affect others, that's valuable. That is so valuable. And I think we need to really just put faith in ourselves. We need to put faith in ourselves and the universe, So a couple things I want to just kind of end this with, and these are kind of a little bit of, I guess, if you will, housekeeping things. So if you got to the 23-minute point in this, here's a couple things. If you are in my online course, I got together with Dr. Nielsen and we filmed some more videos, and I dropped another one into the introduction section. This is an update on what he sees in his practice and the things that are going on in the world, and just some valuable information that we definitely can't share on either YouTube, and just things that we share inside the course. So if you're inside the course, check. Now, you might not have signed up to have a notification sent to you when I drop new videos inside the course. So if you don't have that feature turned on, you actually have to go in and subscribe to that. But if you don't have that, check every week or so. Just go into the course and just check and see if there's a new thing. I am going to keep my Be Your Own Shaman book up one more week for buy a copy of the book and get a $50 gift card to spend on our store, or buy 4 copies of the book and you'll get inside my online course for free. So I'm going to extend that for one more week. So it's been going on for 2 weeks already, and thank you everyone who's purchased my book so far. We've gotten some beautiful, beautiful reviews on that, and I'm so grateful. And then the final thing I want to talk about is I'm going to share with you a link. This is going to be at the bottom of this video, whether you're watching this on YouTube or you're watching it on Rumble. It's also going to be in the email that I send. But my dear friend, Jeff Hayes, I've been a hiking buddy of his. You know, we've known each other for 25 years, and he has made a huge impact on this planet. We went hiking yesterday here in Salt Lake, and he had just sent me a link to a movie that he sent out to out into the world for viewing for no cost. Now, this is a beautiful documentary called The Real RFK Jr. Now, it's not a political movie, and I am not a person who will push any political thing, but this is a beautiful, beautiful labor of love from my friend Jeff, who is a filmmaker. And many of you might have found me through his movies like Supplements Revealed. I was also on The Answer to Cancer. He also did a series called Endgame, which he put me in. He's done many, many, many films. He actually has a tagline for his movies that are called Movies That Make Movements. And he, for the length of time that I've known him and have hiked with him over all of these years, I have watched this beautiful human deepen his purpose and the information that he wants to bring to humanity to simply lift humans up. He is one of the most kind, compassionate people that I know. And I think the older that we've both gotten as our friendship has deepened, we both realize what's really, really important. So I would just say getting eyeballs on this movie is a gift. You can share this with as many people as you like. Now, there is an opportunity to actually support the work he does, and you can actually purchase the rights to access this film anytime you want. But that's his business model. And this is something that I am not an affiliate for. This is just something that I want to share what this man does and his mission in life, and it's a beautiful thing. So these are just kind of the things that to keep an eye out for. Look at the links below this video. And you know what I would really like to hear is, did anything in this message today, resonate with you? It felt a little bit disconcerting. I mean, not disconcerting, but disjointed, if you will. But I always feel like when I go back and I'll watch this before I actually put it out, I'll be like, okay, that little nugget, there might be someone out there who that will resonate with. And I think that we need to realize that there are a couple key things that can get us out of these moments of, they feel like they're a bit of a dark night of the soul. And then when we come into those moments of a realization of who we are, no matter what kind of challenges we're having, we can come into that place of balance and the place of homeostasis, right? Where we get to be. It doesn't always have to be utter bliss or the deepest part of despair. Let's bring ourselves up into a place of neutrality, a place of just beingness. This is a place where health can thrive. This is a place where peace is. And, don't be afraid to put your requests out to the universe. What is it that you want? What is it that you want while you're here? Let's put that out. Maybe in the comments, this is what I'd like. If you got to the end of this, almost 30 minutes, what is it that you want to create in this world right now? It can be a whole gamut of anything. It could be a book. It could be painting. It could be building something. It could be anything. Creating is anything. What is it that you want to create? And I would love to hear where is your heart taking you? It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how young you are. It doesn't matter how busy you are. You always can find the time to create. How much time do you spend, scrolling your social media, watching Netflix? What is it that you want to create? I'd love to see that, because that will immediately bring you into a state of happiness, positivity, and a realization that we're all here to relieve suffering. First our own, and then that of others. And creativity can help do that. So I hope you have a beautiful week, you guys. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and we'll see you next time.